well, Garnath, maybe if you can turn this one around, you can argue the more skilled. Maybe you can argue it was just a mismatch of civs. But this is your shot. Let's see if you can turn it around as we hop into game number 3.
And I'm really curious to see whether Garnath is gonna go aggro here. Because in the first 2 games, he was playing relatively conventional. First game was a bit of off-meta, but still conventional playstyle, nothing super crazy. Game number 2, slower paced game, nothing super aggro. But now he's down 2 games, and this Civilization matchup on this map definitely opens up an option, for example, for a crazy Barbican rush if you want to go very aggro. I wonder if he's going to try and to play conventional again, or whether he wants to go much more aggro here, try to make the game a little bit more chaotic.
It would be quite the gamble to go for a Barbican, right? Like, especially in a mirror without wheelbarrow, as the Chinese usually do. That could, if that fails, like, game is already over. Now, that might be to Garnath's advantage. We've seen he's willing to gamble on a strategy and commit to it, even if it looks questionable. Maybe that could give him the edge here. But looking at the spawns, I would have a big question mark as to where you put a Barbican that would be good enough.
Yeah, I agree. That is a very well defendable base for RecoN, and you could struggle to gain any value from a forward Barbican. The reason why I'm thinking that that could at least be something to consider for Garnath is because so far, conventional playstyle didn't work for him. And keep in mind, he loses this game, his opponent moves on to match point. So if there is ever a time to take a gamble, to take a high risk, this might be the game.
Have to see what he wants to go for, what he wants to opt for. Yeah, if he's thinking late game, once again, we've already highlighted like RecoN is very comfortable in that. I'd love to see a focus on mid-game aggression from Garnath. I think the tough part, though, is has he not chosen one of the civs that's maybe kind of underwhelming in the mid-game, right? Like, the Chinese feel good in Feudal and in Imperial. Castle always kind of feels like a question mark at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, recent meta prioritizes Feudal Age quite a bit, but with the Chinese, you could possibly gamble on Castle Age a little bit more, simply because your power spike comes in much faster. You build your landmark a little faster than other, in fact, much faster than other civilizations do, so you don't waste that much time going up. And also, once you get to Castle Age, you can supervise your barracks for palace guards, so the return of investment is rather fast on Castle Age. That's part of the reason why I think players could be a little bit more focused on Castle Age than they would be in some other civilization matchups.
I think my thought process was in relation to what we talked about RecoN earlier, right? That his early game and his late game are really good. His mid game is maybe his weaker point. So you'd think Garnath would want opportunities to exploit that. And do you actually think Chinese are good at the mid game? Because I think that's possibly their weakest point, right? When we're talking towards Castle. Usually they either thrive in Feudal with Chugin Mass and Spears, or they reach Imperial and get absurd with their economy.
I also don't think you want to drag this out to Imperial if you're Garnath. It's a mirror matchup once again. This map in particular, 4 lakes, can easily turn into a slugfest. Very small differences can swing battles in like late Imperial and Chinese mirrors, especially on maps which can be fortified as well as 4 lakes can be. So this is one of those domains where if you go to post-Imperial on an even footing, it's essentially a coin flip between the two, and I don't think that's good enough for Garnath.
Speaking of Garnath, he is trying to get aggressive on the docks. Meanwhile, RecoN has started building spears, which actually could ruin Garnath entirely, right? Like, if he spots this dock, he'll just go over and torch it, and no value obtained for Garnath.
Interesting idea. Wonder what Garnath's up to. He's just going to expand towards the other pawns. We have seen that yesterday, that players were so focused and so scared that their opponents will sneak a dock on their own pawn that they will completely neglect the other pawns, and either player can just easily secure a second dock for himself on those pawns because no one is really paying attention to those places.
I think Spearmen are splitting up and going everywhere. In fact, I think RecoN has one troop going up to where the villager is on the north. In fact, they're about to clash, so he'll know that there's a dock already set up in that area. It's actually the scout that spots this out. Meanwhile, Spears are moving across to make sure Garnath hasn't gone onto a second lake yet, or at least a home lake.
Oh, Garnath was trying to wall off that side, but this will be spotted by RecoN, and this is important because spotting that villager from RecoN, or from Garnath rather, by RecoN, means that he knows that there's a dock on the right-hand side pawn.
I wonder if he's actually going to be able to get to... The problem is this villager, it might just look to him like the villager is wrapping around and he hasn't placed a dock at all. I hope he's going to check it because it would be a pretty awkward way to lose out.
Yeah, but
He's
like,
on his way there.
you would likely wrap with a villager from the left, not the right. Now, if you want to be sneaky, you can try the right, but it's a big gamble for Garnath. But what is he up to? I don't think that villager is gonna be capable of finishing the dock here. It's too low HP.
No, I think
Yeah,
he's just
there's
wasting
no
time.
way.
Yeah, okay, so what RecoN, like what's happening here from Garnath, I don't think Garnath knew straight away about the rack, so he was just trying to pull vision away so that the dock didn't get revealed. Unfortunately for him, RecoN sniffed it out. He knew something was wrong. He's going to torch this down before you can get a single vessel out of the dock.
Yeah, the tricky thing is that the moment the villager got spotted, it was relatively obvious for RecoN that there could be a second dock out there. All he had to do is just send a unit there to check. And as you said, maybe Garnath didn't expect the barracks to be there, so he didn't expect a lot of torching potential to be available for RecoN, but he does. And that's actually a concern right now for Garnath. That dock is going down the drain, but it also forces him to invest into a couple of archers, because otherwise, his own dock back at home is going to be under threat as well.
And now he's going on a second dock at home. And the key detail here is whether RecoN's going to mirror it. In fact, he's on his way over now with a villager. Now, the advantage for Garnath is, of course, he can build defensive ships first, right? RecoN's not teched up as quickly. But I don't even know if Garnath knows that he's going to be contested on the Western Lake yet.
Yeah, Garnath's scout is inside the base of RecoN right now. So he definitely didn't spot that villager walking up on the left side, and he's probably not even going to spot it for quite a while.
It's one of those tough parts, right? You wish you had more vision, but in a mirror matchup, you're like, oh, I don't know if he's going second scout. I can't risk it because I'll be a villager behind. My times will be slower.
Yeah, there's the dock coming up. It's actually rather close to the starting dock here. Maybe a little too close for comfort. You might want to pull it back a little bit more. You don't want to risk being spotted by the dock of Garnath.
I think he kind of wants this, actually. If you think about the build time of the Chinese, you can't build a junk quicker than you can build the dock, right? So now this just holds that lake hostage, and Garnath can't build fishing on it. It's actually kind of a wacky, effective play. And mistakes made. Barbican's being built up. Spears are going to spot it out, and instantly on top of him, that forces the double down of villagers here. One or two might actually be killed off before they can complete the construct. Now, luckily for Garnath, because he is the Chinese, he does build landmarks faster, but it's still going to cost him.
Yeah, this is great value for the spears. They already took down one dock. Killing two villagers here is decent value as well. Might even be able to yoink a third.
Should be able to get through him into... Oh, no. What? I think he had him. Something happened there with the wolf. He didn't attack the final wave. Instead, he'll just peel back. The good news for him is he forced an archer investment out of Garnath. However, Garnath hasn't gone too deep in that. He did stop at one.
Yeah, but still, value is there for the spears, and we've talked about this a lot today. Mirror matchups, you're looking for small differences, and being able to pick off two villagers at the beginning, that is a big difference, not even just a small one, especially if you consider the fact that when it comes to neutral pond expansions, it's going to be better for RecoN, as he's going to contest the left-hand side pond, while he himself has untouched fishing eco on the right.
And Garnath is over-leveraged on that northern pond. You saw how many fishing boats are out there. Those deep water fishes aren't going to last indefinitely. There's going to be idle time eventually in that northern pocket.
And think about it this way. The moment the deep fish runs dry, what is your food eco looking like? It's nothing. Your entire food eco is based on the fish. So you deplete that pond fast, and your food eco will go from 700 per minute to 0 per minute.
Now, I'm curious about this. Can we check the vision? I wonder if Garnath did actually see this dock. RecoN might have got it just out of range, which is disgusting to fit. Oh, the trees! The trees!
But look at the path. Look at the path on the shoreline. For whatever reason, the game is drawing a path in between enemy buildings as well. So if he looks here specifically, he could have spotted it. Now, the key thing is that he wasn't really looking here because he was busy not losing his villagers on the Barbican and such. So it's the scenario of he can see it, but did he see it? And the answer is no.
Yeah, my favorite part is that my favorite one is actually Cauldron with the small lake, where it'll build a path through the through the water towards the other base. Now, a little bit of a rough one, because this means that RecoN, although you can see eco is still better for Garnath at the moment, it's not going to stay that way. There's going to be a bigger snowball effect economically in the next 5 minutes in favor of RecoN. Garnath, like, he might be forced to rely more on land. For now, it looks like he's relying on a fast tech up timing, but the crazy part is RecoN's actually not that far behind it.
Yeah, he isn't. He's also trying to sneak a dock on the right side, but there's a spearman guarding the shoreline over here, so RecoN putting that leftover spearman to good use. It's going to deny the dock here from Garnath, and I think RecoN might even catch the landmark being built with that scout, so he's gonna know what things are looking like on the other side of the map.
Chinese build speed isn't that broken, right?
It shouldn't be.
Right?
Right.
Right?
Right.
Right?
Right.
It shouldn't have even been that close, to be honest with you.
Yeah, true.
It's actually absurd to think it was that close.
Yeah, it is. Anyways, dock on the left side. Ooh, War Chunk popping out here.
Yeah, but junks are so cheap that I don't think RecoN feels discredited with his investment. And also, he's teching up now, so if he just rushes a War Junk, I think he still wins that battle because the junks will tank.
And the other thing is that he's fine having a status quo on the left-hand side pond, because he has his own fish on the right side that's not contested. A contested left pond is good for him, because that means that Garnath can only take fish from his own pond.
East side's going to be contested as well. He didn't cancel the foundation. He's sending over more villagers to build this up. And RecoN only just noticed the army's going to be too late. However, maybe this is enough spears to kill off the dock before a War Junk comes out.
Yeah, or just damage it pretty heavily, and once your own War Junks are out, you could possibly try to snipe it. But yeah, actually, dock is pretty heavily damaged here already.
Yeah, I think, and he doesn't want to build a War Junk anyway, right? It's such a heavy investment, over 500 resources on your home pond. He wants to avoid that, and looks like you'll get to. I think this is enough. Spears, and also keep in mind the Chugyanu add 3 damage per attack as well. It's going to be enough.
Yeah, it is going to be enough. Now, once a couple of Lancers are out, you could actually flirt with the idea if you're Garnath to once again try to sneak a dock up there. But for the time being, he's going to focus on land, and RecoN's going to have to wall himself because he doesn't really have the tools to stop these Lancers with. He's just now starting his own production.
Yeah, he's going to escalate faster. You can see on the income side and also the eco count starting to favor RecoN here. This War Junk hasn't been countered, interestingly enough. RecoN didn't want to make the investment into his own War Junk. Instead, he's going to go into a boom ship, which is actually a pretty crafty idea considering the fishing boats is the value you're looking for.
Yeah, he just wants to demo snipe the fish. It is pretty fast. It doesn't take a tremendous amount of time to pick off those fish, and the value is there. For a price of demo ship, killing 4 or 5 fishing ships is great value.
It was crazy. Is actually, if he'd healed the junk with the fishing boats, I think he could have killed the War Junk with a boom ship.
Yeah, he might be able to.
Here he comes. Bye, honey.
Oh,
Pay
such a
yourself.
beauty.
I miss these. You know, you don't get to see them anymore. I think they've balanced them a little bit better on the pop. So maybe in the future, folks, when the new patch drops, the naval warfare boom ships will have a place again. God bless.
Masters of Islands, that has to be the next EGC tournament on the screen. Just warring islands only with the new water balance. Who's up for that? Hands up.
And everyone's got their hands down. How about Archipelago, guys? Yeah! That would have been actually great if we had that tournament release, because I used to pronounce Archipelago wrong.
The dock is going to go down over here, so Garnath is going to secure that left-hand side pawn, but he's yet to really start capitalizing on that. He barely has a single fishing ship working there. He's still playing a relatively passive game, defensive as he is.
And here come the boys. RecoN's got a lot of speed, so Lancer Mass for Garnath can't do much. In fact, he doesn't really have anything to defend his range comp, and no, actually, screw it. Garnath wins. What was that? The T-pose, the BM.
I thought I Am Magic played in the previous set, but apparently we did have some magic there too.
Oh, that would make sense. What you're saying is Magic has embedded himself in Garnath's army, and Magic said that he wanted RecoN to win. So there's a traitor in the Garnath. Yeah, it makes sense now.
Well, Garnath is not only floating a lot of food, he's also floating some of his army.
Not so much golden wood, though. This is a problem. I don't think he can escalate at the same pace. This is at least a good raid. This is the only way that he can actually contest RecoN at the moment. Land eco being somewhat exposed. But as we know, it's hard to raid the Chinese due to those pesky villages that always give enough room for people to garrison inside.
And you have to do damage here to RecoN, because one thing that RecoN has done and Garnath didn't is add a second town center. So now we have 2 TC Song Dynasty on the side of RecoN, whereas for Garnath, he's still on 1 TC, and this is starting to show in the villager department. RecoN now by 5.
Ooh wowie, ooh wow. Pretty damn effective. And RecoN, not just that, look what he's gathering in mass. Stone. He's going to go for a keep play. And he can get pretty far towards Garnath's base before Garnath will even see him due to that central stealth forest.
Yeah, in fact, I think it's gonna be somewhere around that stealth forest, might even conceal him until he finishes it, and that central part of the map, because of that stealth forest, is immensely valuable, so you want to have control over that, and right now, Garnath is letting RecoN gain control over that place.
Outpost to start with. I like this by RecoN because the keep could be ambitious. You want to make sure the area is safe. We know that he has the military lead, but he's not quite sure of that yet.
Yep.
He also has the better comp. I mean, this is a lot of crossbows Zhuge knew. I do think the spears and the lances are better off here.
Yeah, probably. Especially because the mobility is just not there for Garnath and his base is lying wide open. You can detach those lancers any moment and just go for a raid.
Absolutely. Here we go, the keep drop. It's China as well, they build them fast, and this is the problem now. Garnath has to fight the army, or he goes after the villagers and potentially loses his army. 2 lancers make their way around. There should be enough villagers to get this up. It's going to be a little bit tight, though. Commitment comes in from the blue cavalry onto the ranged battalion. They'll turn around for the spears to clean up the few lancers that got through. There is enough build force here to get this up. It's going to block Garnath out from the remaining wood line and from the natural one next to this as a follow-up.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Positional warfare now favoring RecoN over here big time. He did lose most of his lancers to the crossbow fire out there. Maybe he didn't expect that many crossbows to be there, but it's not just the fact that you block the wood. There's a bigger thing, KP. The gold. Where is Garnath gonna get gold from?
You're right. I mean, he has to go far left, right? And that's out in no man's land. That's not protected at all. He has got 1 reserve gold here, but he is hard harvesting, and it's a baby gold vein. Only half of it left.
It's gonna get depleted in a matter of seconds, and after that, there's just no backup options. He could go to the far right, but as you said, this is neutral ground. It's very exposed, and remember, his army is very slow moving. He can't just play catch up with those knights that are raiding him.
Oh, that's a brilliant read as well. He just housed him. And it's good because your opponent's going to build a trebuchet now, right? Well, he can't. Yep. And then all these houses are right here, so RecoN could keep doing this.
And now he's burning the market. So in case Garnath had issues with gold, he couldn't even sell resources. Now, Garnath has plenty of gold to work with, but the idea is so good. This army wouldn't really be doing much anyways. Might as well snipe key buildings like the market or even the blacksmith.
Or even the trebuchet.
trebuchet.
That's a freebie. Should be able to get it in time, especially with the horsemen there, adding in a little bit extra poke damage. Sure, they're tanky because they came out of the clock tower, but the clock time is not on their side this time.
And look at that, he's gonna fortify the left side of the map over here. Garnath is gonna have to expand to the right, but RecoN is conscious about that one, and RecoN, he's probably going to shift his focus to the right as well. Now going heavy on the spearman and the nest of bees.
Oh yeah. No, he's parked, he's ready. He's also still harvesting more stone at home, so he's going to go for an additional keep drop soon. Raid coming in towards him means he has to shift the villagers away. Can't get too close to the coast, though. Otherwise, the war junk's going to get involved. He will get out, and keep in mind that, actually, behind this, Garnath is teching up. Somehow, he has got a ridiculous amount of food and gold together.
Yeah, he has had that food eco on his backbone completely untouched for a while, and it's not like he was investing into tremendous army numbers. Although the ones that he have invested into, they are paying for their price, picking off quite a few villagers here from RecoN. He's going to go Imperial. In fact, he cancelled the Spirit Blade for a brief moment.
Yeah, interesting.
Wait.
So it looks like he's going to double down. This might bait him in, though. I think he believes that RecoN's teching up, so he wants to try and push. But little does he know that RecoN actually is still investing, and he's bringing the counter to this mass crossbow.
What if it's Yuan Dynasty and Fire Lancers? He's dropping a lot of stables. And he's still floating enough resources to go Yuan Dynasty here.
It's an interesting idea here, especially when you consider RecoN hasn't walled his base. In fact, neither player has. It's kind of surprising, because usually when Chinese are playing on 4 legs, at this point, someone has built the walls.
Yeah. Still puzzling here for Garnath. Looks like he's just going back to Lancers, but that means that he's floating a bunch of resources, and that's a concern for him. You either have to invest everything he has into Lancers, or he has to go Imperial, but he can't afford to just float 2,500 gold and 1,000 food.
RecoN. Okay, missed opportunity to snipe the war junk there. Weird commitment here, but in fairness, the outpost is going to eventually kill the war junk, so you will be able to get to the docks. That's going to shut down the food source, so if Garnath's plan is to go hard in the Lancers, he hasn't got a long-term solution for it with one of the lakes being taken away.
Yeah, gold mines are also going to get taken away. There's a keep coming up on the right-hand side, and that's where Garnath is mining gold. Garnath didn't seem to have noticed it yet, and he might not even be able to move up with the army in time.
It's too late. It's
too
gonna
late.
block him off. So he can maybe still gather on the northern side of that vein, but it's going to be annoying to Micro because he's got so many villages there. This commitment to keep the dock alive. Meanwhile, Garnath now diving towards the main base. RecoN is exposed there. He never walled this. And his crossbows, where are they? They don't exist, right? He's only got lances and small quantities of them at that. So it might be difficult for him to defend his own base.
Yeah, remember, RecoN lost most of his lancers in the fight that allowed him to get the first keep up. And after that, he never really replenished them. His army is looking rather feeble right now. 43 army numbers are deceiving because some of that are war chunks and nest of bees. His standing army is actually much smaller than that.
Right now, RecoN is going to bait his opponent away from the crossbows, so he can at least take a somewhat desirable fight. Nest of bees in the mix-up. If they target out the crossbows, it could be big, but right now they're wasting time on heavy cavalry. And RecoN, where are you going, Sunshine? Out into the mid-map because he needs to go into danger territory to find new resources.
This is alarming for RecoN.
The nest of bees, the cross, please, for the love of God, attack the cross. There we go. That's the damage he needs. And that's enough. Garnath gives up. Wow, RecoN somehow survives it all. I mean, Garnath, I guess he felt like his economy could not weather the storm long term. He GG's out. RecoN is now on match point.
I would really love to hear what the players had on their minds in this moment, because do keep in mind, first of all, as you see, Garnath lost a bunch of villagers. I think it was to the keep on the right side. Maybe Garnath just saw the keep up, lost all the villagers out there in the gold mine, realized that he has no access to gold and just gave up. It's also possible he saw the second TC, so he thought RecoN is going to be much more ahead in the eco, and that RecoN is already aging to Imperial, or RecoN has a formidable force hidden inside, whereas he can't replenish his forces.
Exactly.
From an outside spectator, it might look awkward for Garnath to resign, but you can list at least 5 possible reasons or 5 possible things that could have been in his head that would justify his decision to resign here, now allowing RecoN to move on to match point, and this is where it really gets painful for Garnath. The only way he gets a ticket to Heidelberg is if he can reverse sweep RecoN right now.
I think what happened in that game at the end, like Garnath maybe didn't realize he lost the Western Docks until that moment when he realized he had no food. Because quite often, right, when you're playing this situation, you're mashing the buttons, you're like, okay, so wait, why can't I afford what I could before? I think that's maybe what happened. He's like, maybe I can get a second army, make something happen. But that in conjunction with the gold you mentioned on the east side being blocked out in the center, it makes a lot of sense. I think that's maybe why it came a little bit more delayed than would be apparent. I think the deceitful part is that fight actually looked a lot better than it should have been for Garnath because of the maybe slightly off micro, but you're right.
This is why I feel that like something had to happen elsewhere, because this fight wasn't terrible for him. It actually looked pretty decent. It's just the fact that right now the top of the screen says 400 gold per minute, less than that for Garnath, and he had at one point like 25 gold miners on a large gold mine. So it really makes me wonder whether he just lost all those gold miners on the right side. He was busy microing the fight, and then once the fight was over, he looks back, sees all his villagers dead, and says, okay, there is no recovery from this point on. Little did he know that RecoN didn't really have a massive standing army out there to finish the game with.